Shall we please sit? The time up there doesn't seem to be correct, so I need to give myself a little time here. Trevor predicted it, maybe it's going to happen, but there's a chance that we'll stay here till 2 o'clock. It's only a chance though. There's also a chance that we may not stay out till then, but we'll see. Good afternoon, brethren. For those maybe seeing me for the first time, my name is Chisom, and it's privileged for me to stand before us today to speak and to deliver the sermon. The last time I was standing here in this capacity was in January. This April already. The first quarter of the year is gone. And I was reflecting upon it since last Sunday when I knew I would be delivering the sermon today. The time has really flown by. And I remember in January, in the beginning of my message, I said words that sounded like this: I'm glad I get to tell people what to do for the year, since everyone is still making their resolutions. I remember saying something like that because it was in January. But I was glad to tell people what they were going to do. Well, it is the beginning of the second quarter. The first quarter of the year is gone. And here I am again to do a check-in. And I'll ask us, and I'm also asking myself a question. That is a question that could mean many things. It's actually a phrase that you hear from a lot of Nigerians. And maybe at the end of today, if you knew nothing about Nigerians, if you see any Nigerian and ask them that question, they would know how to respond to it. It is how far. So if you see any Nigerians among us are laughing, or if you see a Nigerian and ask them how far, it could be many things. It could be it's a way that we also ask, how are you? Or what's up? Or how are you? So it could also be a way to check in on someone and say, how is it going? How well, have you done what you were doing? Or how well have you also done the things that you hope to achieve? All right? So, the question today is a simple one. How far? Or, some people say how far, if you want to shorten it. How far? there are some things today that's been kind of a coincidence. One of them is about the clothes I'm putting on. So I've asked a question now, how far, and I've said that, in January I said that it's good that I need to tell you what to do, all right, for the year. And now I'm coming asking how far. And I'm putting a cloth of a lion that, has its mouth open, that's about to roar. So, looks like maybe the person who is standing here has gotten everything perfected. And it's about to, now I've done my own work, and now I'm coming to you to now tell you, to ask you, how far have you gone? And maybe to tell you the things that you've not done properly well for the first quarter of the year. Or maybe to be, as I am, actually, a coincidence again, a teacher, all right, who is checking in on his students. And a teacher who has learned and perfected that area of knowledge, and who is coming to check in on the students to find out, how far, how well have you learned this lesson, or how well have you completed the assignment that I gave to you back in January, all right? But to be clear, the person who is standing in front of you is actually asking himself, how far? Because I'm not one who actually makes resolutions and maybe write them somewhere. But from time to time, we kind of tell ourselves maybe what we want to do by a certain time, or how we want to make our lives better, how we want to make ourselves better in one way or the other. And I also made some plans, all right? One of them was physical, that I was going to try and be very fit this year. Well, good thing I didn't tell my wife, because maybe by now she will be chastising me that this is what you said you were going to do. So I had it within myself that I will be a bit fitter this year. Let's say that one is still in the pipeline, right? No more comments there. Professionally, I also told myself that there are some courses I need to do to acquire some skills which will be useful for me at some time this year or the beginning of next year. And I started them. I also don't want to say how far I've gone with some of them, because I don't think it's very far. But by the time I started them, I would have, by now, I was thinking, or maybe by now, the plan was that I would have gone at least midway into them. One of the things, too, I also thought to myself was that, and now this is me trying to shoot myself in the foot in a way, but I'll have to say it. One of the things I thought to myself was that maybe, I need to start visiting brethren a bit more, or to be, spiritually closer to brethren. Yeah, that's a confession, because now I can't lie anymore, because everyone here would know that now you didn't visit me, or it's yet. So I've not actually done it. Somehow, I don't know if I would say I've been too busy, or one way or the other, or one reason or the other, I've not just been able to do it. So, again, me asking how far, it's not me coming here to want to judge anyone for what has happened this first quarter of the year, but as a means for us to have a little reflection on the first quarter of this year. How far have we gone? What were the things that maybe we said we were going to do? How far have we gone with them? The things that we said that maybe we are not going to do, or we are not going to do that much. How far? All right, how well have we tried to live our lives? And this is not just maybe looking at the first quarter of the year. It is also looking at our lives as a whole. How far have we come? Now, There are some people here who are in their 70s or above 70s, people here who are above 50s, above 30, people who are just counting the first few years of their lives. It's a check-in for everyone. How far have you come? How well? Can we pause and reflect and possibly re-strategize and possibly look at how we can maybe remove those distractions and those things that are causing us from actually pursuing and actualizing our goals? But there's a good news, actually. The good news is that even if the year didn't start the way you hoped, God hasn't written you off. Even if the year did not start the way I hoped, that God hasn't written me off. Now, I've been talking about the first quarter. But God's grace does not run on a quarterly schedule. All right? God's grace is not based on performance reviews. And it's not based on checklists, on the things that we have actually met or not met. His mercy is fresh every day. In Lamentations 3 verse 22 to 23, it says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." So, the first quarter of the year is gone. Today is here. God's grace is still the same. God's grace is here for us. So whatever has been lost, whatever has not been perfected, we are here today. In Philippians chapter 1 verse 6, it says, "Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." That whatever work that God has also started in you, whatever work, whatever thoughts, whatever project that God has put in your mind or in your hands, God is also ready to carry it on to completion. But it is us also, we also need to realize that, and we also need to work. And in Proverbs 24 verse 16, "Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Now, although we may have fallen on the things that we plan to do in the first quarter of this year, although we may have fallen for the things that we've planned to do on our, for our lives, even up to this point, we rise again. There is an opportunity for us to reflect again and re-strategize. Falling is not failing. All right? As Christians, we will fall 7 times, but we will rise again. But we need to have it in our consciousness that God's grace is there for us. That God's grace, that God's love is there for us. It's not based on our strength or works. It is there. If we are fallen, if we are in a state where we feel not worthy, God's grace is there for us to reconnect and for us to rise up and continue. Now, just a little reflection, all right, that we need to do as part of this, our check-in. What habits do we have, or what habits do I have that are actually drawing me closer to God right now? That's one question that we need to ask ourselves. So what habits do I have that are actually drawing me closer to God? And what habits, again, do I have that are also taking me away from God? What habits do I have that are making me actualize the dreams or the goals or the projects that I've planned to execute this year? And what habits are those that could also prevent me from actualizing them? It's a time for us to reflect and to think, what are those things that are taking up our time, that are taking up space in our head, that are taking up energy from us, that is preventing us for us to actualize our goals? What area of my life have I been trying to fix in my own strength instead of surrendering it to God? That's the other question. What areas have I been trying to fix with my own strength rather than surrendering it to God? Now, as humans, there are a lot of things that we can be able to do. God has given us wisdom. God has given us knowledge. God has given us energy. He's given us all for our living. But we are also weak. That we need to also realize that we also have limits to the things that we can be able to do. I remember back then in the early stages of my actual Christian life. I'm saying that after I baptized and when I had the privilege to go out and back in Nigeria to preach to people. One of the things, one of my it was a go-to saying was that I asked them, someone who is just there, living their lives, having no thinking about God, or having no, just living carefree. And I always ask the question that are you in control of your life? Do you think you're in control of your life? All right. In Nigeria, people have this kind of, especially men, kind of, we say something like, maybe this. That means, this is, I'm the one in charge, but are you really in charge of your life? And I ask the question, when you go out and you get into a bus, and there is a driver driving that bus, and maybe you don't know what problem that driver is having back home, or maybe if that driver is on the influence of something, and you are in that bus as a passenger, are you really in charge of what the outcome of that travel would be? So, why I'm saying this is, there are a lot of things that sometimes we feel we are completely in control of as humans. And because we feel that, we do not realize that God has a big role to play in us actualizing our goals and our dreams. If we do not submit those goals and dreams to God, that we may not be able to push through to actualize them. So what area of my life have I been trying to fix in my own strength instead of surrendering it to God? Now, it is not all doom and gloom, all right? The reason why I'm standing here today. One other thing that we should also reflect on is, because sometimes we do not tend to appreciate enough. So one of the things I want us to reflect on, what are those things that God has blessed you with that maybe we take for granted? What's the state of our health? Are we able to feed? Are we able to wear clothes? Are we able to do things that maybe if you go out or go to the hospitals or go to some parts of the world that people may not have that privilege to do. And then the second part of it is, what small wins have I experienced this year? So I've been saying that, I've been naming some things that I've not actually done as a person. But can we take back to reflect, what are the little things that you would say that they are wins, that they are little things that you've achieved? Can we, appreciate ourselves a little for them? but not also being at the same time saying that, oh, well, I've achieved that. Well, let me give myself a pat on the back and then go and sleep. No, that's not what I'm saying. But can we appreciate the little gains that we have, the little wins that we've made, and then use that as a spring to then look at pursuing those things that we have not been able to do properly? Now, I said that there's a chance that we are going to be here till 2 o'clock. It is not looking like that, because I'm going to my conclusion very soon. But as part of this reflection, before we end it, I want us to have a quiet moment just to reflect. And I've got a little prayer. First, we need to thank God. Lord, thank you. We need to thank God that God is not keeping score. So again, this is the first quarter of the year, that God is not keeping a score card to actually judge us by our actions, because His grace is new every morning. So thank you, Lord, that you're not keeping score of what we sometimes do. That your grace is there for us to always come to you. Help us to see progress through your eyes. Help us to release guilt and embrace the grace to grow again. Help us to forgive ourselves for the things that we've done wrong. Give us strength where we are tired, hope where we are discouraged, and peace where we are restless. In conclusion, the first quarter of the year is gone, but there are 3 more. There are 3 more. All right? There are still 3 quarters left. So what that means is that if we've not done well with that first quarter, how about the next 3? Can we go into the next 3 quarters with a bit more confidence, and again with a bit more carefulness, so that we can be able to make better use of them? Make better use of them for ourselves, make better use of them for our relationship with one another, make better use of them for our relationship, most importantly, with God. More importantly, God is not done with us. God is not done with you. Yes, the first quarter is gone, but God is not done with you. All right? His work is still, His plans for us is still very big. God is not done with you. So, we have 3 more quarters for us to actualize, for us to show, to manifest what God's work is in our life. Now, again, I will come back to say that God is not looking for perfection, because no one can be perfect except God Himself. But what God is looking for is a willing heart. It's a heart that understands our imperfections and is willing to do better. It's willing to take little steps for us to get where we want to get to. None of us here is perfect. God is not looking for perfection. God is looking for someone who is willing. Because the man that God said that this is the man after my heart was a very imperfect man, but was a man who knew when he was wrong. Was a man who knew who knew his role in his life and the role of God in his life. Was a man who understood that he needed to submit to God and needed to understand the things that he has done wrong and come to God to beg for forgiveness. That was the man after God's heart. That was David. He was far from being a perfect man. So God is not looking for perfection. He's looking for a willing heart. So as we step into the second quarter of this year, let's do it with fresh hope. Not because we are so strong, but because God is faithful. And if you have not yet given your life to Christ through baptism, this is an opportunity. It's a perfect time to consider it. Again, it's possible that someone has had that at the back of their mind, that I would achieve it by this time of the year. Maybe it's not yet that time of the year. Maybe it's not just yet happened. But God's grace is new every morning. God's grace is new even at this moment. But one thing that we are not sure of is the next second. No one is sure of the next second. No one is sure of tomorrow. So can we use now to do the things that we need to do? There's no better way to respond to God's grace than by surrendering fully to Him. All right? Baptism is another starting point. It gives us the opportunity to start all over again, to refresh and start over again. So, if your heart is stirring today, don't ignore it. You can start again, not just for the rest of the year, but for the rest of your life with Christ at the center. Before I go, one other coincidence that happened today was the first hymn that we sang. And before I leave, I just want to leave us with the last with the last verse of that hymn. Verse 5 of We Praise Thee, O God. It says, revive us again. Fill each heart with thy love. May each soul be rekindled with fire from above. Hallelujah.